Hey everybody, welcome to Indie Games Level Up. I'm your host, Phil Lubensky. This week, we're back in Montreal, and I'm right next to Concordia University, where Kitfox Games has their office. We're gonna chat about their myth-building RPG called Moon Hunters. Moon Hunters is a myth-building RPG, where up to 4 players can work together in order to build their respective heroes' mythologies. Your choices throughout the game will cause your character to develop a wide variety of personality traits that shape the basis of your legend. You travel through ancient Mesopotamia in order to try to solve the mystery of, you guessed it, the missing moon. That sums it up. Let's go to the interview. So hey everybody, I'm sitting here with team captain of Kitfox Games, Tanya Short. Tanya, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Given that most games out there, when you play to win and finish the game.
Maybe you do.
Yeah, maybe I do, but in this case, Moon Hunters is actually, the goal is to make a story. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more about that and why you chose this approach for Moon Hunters?
Well, I think that a fascination with stories and myths is actually more natural to humans than competition or even trying to win necessarily. But I think that they can live together. I mean, I think heroes are the story of trying to win. I mean, the heroes are the people we praise because they won. Nobody's really questioning, why do we tell myths? Why do we choose these people to tell our stories about? And so really considering the elements of what is a hero, of what is the player doing, why are they doing this, and what do we really think about someone who goes around beating everyone up? Like what does that story mean, really? I'm very frustrated with games that always tell you exactly what to do and when to do it and where to go. I am much more interested as a designer in games where the player matters as much as the designer. And I think the games that we're seeing that are finding the most success are the ones that really involve the player the most. And I think that expressiveness, even in just the tiniest little moments of choice, are really important to feeling like you are playing the game and the game isn't playing you. The more that we can encourage the player to express why they're doing something and to really think about what am I trying to accomplish here? Why am I doing this? I think the more thoughtful worlds we can make, and the better our stories will be. Moon Hunters, it's not as creative as Minecraft, let's say, but there is still an element of showing what kind of a person you are and really interacting with the world. And I think that interaction is what separates games from other art forms.
Is there any reason why the sun is evil in your game?
Yes. The more I started researching ancient Mesopotamia, and particularly ancient Assyria, I realized that the moon had turned into a more dark aspect over the last few thousand years. And so part of it is just a reversal. Just that question alone, that disconnect between modern day and Moon Hunters, I think helps set the tone very quickly, as you're not really sure what good and evil even means anymore. I want you to come across things that don't quite fit into our modern archetypes, our slimmed down mainstream Hollywood idea of what a myth is.
What would you say is innovative about Kitfox as a studio?
As a studio, I think our greatest innovation is actually being very structured. It's all about being as efficient as possible. I feel like it's a really competitive market, and we keep these structures not because someone tells us that they're a good idea, but because we feel like it makes us work harder and work smarter. The trap of a few more hours will make the game better really is a trap. It's like a pit that you're gonna fall into and you're not gonna get out of. I see it as my job as project manager to identify as soon as humanly possible when we're getting into a situation where we're incentivizing each other to stay later and later. It makes us less able to make quick and sane decisions. And I think it's especially dangerous towards the end of a project when there are a lot of difficult decisions to be made.
Tell me about your work with Pixel Montreal and why is it important to you?
Pixels, I co-founded with Rebecca Cohen-Palacios a few years ago, and we were funded by Feminists in Games of Toronto. It's not only flourished and shown how much the community of Montreal supports women in games, but because I think the art form suffers when only one kind of person makes a game. For years and years, game developers have been becoming more open-minded, more inclusive, and the kinds of games we're making have been becoming more diverse and inviting more different kinds of people to play games and make games. And that's really exciting for those of us that want to see that. But there is a core set of people, and for those years, these people have been feeling disenfranchised. They were used to being the person that all games press talk to. They were used to being the target audience of literally every game. This latest rash of unpleasantness, let's say, is really just finally these people are so upset about the situation that they're banding together and unfortunately doubling down on the idea that games shouldn't change and they shouldn't widen to accept more kinds of ideas. I think it's really sad, and I think in 20 years we'll see that it's a vast minority. It's great that there are so many tools finding their way into the hands of people who otherwise never would have considered making a game. Twine and Construct and things like that. There's actually a great quiz, it's sortingh.at, Sorting Hat. And if you just answer the questions about what kind of game you want to make, it'll tell you exactly the list of tools to download and where to find art assets and everything like that. It's a really great website. Again, as a game designer, I'm just so excited by having so many different ideas and so many different people picking up these tools who were never able to have a voice in games before. Being independent has given me a really healthy admiration for people who take creative risks. They actually look inside themselves, they look inside their audience, and they can think from a very pure standpoint. What do I feel is an entertainment product that would make the world better right now?
Tanya, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
For more info, everybody, go to www.kitfoxgames.com. Indie Games Level Up is produced by Handmade. Handmade creates compelling live action and animation, including video game trailers, commercials, and this web series. To find out more, visit handmadecreative.ca. This episode is sponsored by the Canada Media Fund. Since 2010, they've invested over $50 million in Canadian indie game studios. The Canada Media Fund is proud to help indie games level up, explore innovation and creativity in indie games.